So guys, I think we can start. Welcome everyone to our Magento Meetup 12. Thank you for joining us. Just a few words about me and the company and the event. My name is Sergey. I'm CTO in Magecom. Magecom is a company who specializes on e-commerce, especially on Magento development and Magento solutions. Today we are hosting our 12th meetup, which is like our regular event, but this is a very special event. First of all, because this year Magecom celebrates its 10th anniversary, and also this is our first meetup which we host in English. Just a few words about the agenda. Today we have 3 speakers and 3 topics to discuss. It's Mr. Alexander Shkurko, Anastasia Bondar, and Vladislav Apukhly. Every speaker would have at least 20 and maximum 40 minutes to discuss. We are starting right now with Alexander Shkurko, and he is Alexander is a technical advisor in Atwix, and his topic is disaster recovery plan for e-commerce solution based on Magento. Just one more thing, guys. If you have any questions, just type it in the chat, and after this, the speech, I will ask Alexander to answer your questions. Okay, Alex, you're up. Please go on.
Hello, everyone, and can you hear me well, and can you see me?
Yeah, we can see you and we can hear you well.
Oh, great. Thank you. Just I was over the moon when the Magento company sent me invitation to be a speaker at this meetup, because for me, it's an honor to be with unity of professionals that has a continuous delivery of knowledge sharing to the Magento community. It's like very important to have this continuous delivery because from my point of view, based on 12 years of professional experience in e-commerce sphere, that the Magento community is the driving force for those 2 platforms. I'm talking about the Magento open source version and Adobe Commerce. And today we will talk about the disaster recovery plan. And before I will start, I want to ask you, do you see my screen well? Everything is fine? Sergey, can you see my presentation? Or someone, please?
Yeah, we can see everything.
Okay, then I return the slideshow. And guys, in order to provide you like a high quality service during this meetup, I will turn off my video in order to save just like internet traffic and don't interrupt you with some bad connection. So before we will start discovery, what does it mean disaster recovery plan, I want to tell some words about myself. So first, I'm a tech advisor at Atwix company. And what does it mean to be a tech advisor? To be a tech advisor, it's like to be a Swiss knife tool or multi-tool that you want to have in a case of emergency or during disaster. Because my area of responsibility is just to help development team, clients, business with technical consulting. And yeah, my current location is Kyiv, Ukraine. And if we are talking about superheroes, I want to say that my superpower is like high empathy, open-minded setup, and love to cats, and they also love me. So let it be. Disaster recovery plan. I do not want to use the standard definition of this term based on like a very dry terminology. I want to explain the meaning of this plan and why it is important and for whom. First of all, for whom this plan is important? For developers, managers, product and business owners. When you are ready for any kind of disaster and you know what to do, you just have a win-win situation. Priority, of course, high, because it's very important to be prepared for again, any kind of disaster during the high season of sales, or when you have a promotion, or when you have a great upgrade, and so on and so on. Business value without any doubts, it's high, because when you again when you have a plan for emergency situation, you are prepared for any kind of changes, and you reduce the risks and effect that can be after some disaster. Benefits, a lot of benefits in long term. Again, just everything that I mentioned before can be summarized into this point. And complexity, despite all the fact that this is a thing has a high priority and high business value, complexity is medium, because every level of expertise can contribute to this disaster recovery plan and make it perfect. So, but why is the disaster recovery plan is essential in the 20th or 21st century? And just to answer to this question, let's describe the 2020 and 2021 and 2022 for e-commerce in one picture. And when I will show you, you will understand that you already know this picture. Ta-da! So this is how sometimes we see those years. Coronavirus pandemic, global warming, global economic crisis, war. So everything affects e-commerce, us, and maybe just I find myself sometimes in the burning room, and only thing I can say, everything is fine, just because I have a plan. Before we will start with some practical advices, I want to describe in details possible disasters in order to underline the importance of having such plan. The list that you can see now on the screens is based on my own experience. It can be extended, changed completely based on your type of business, of your level of expertise, of your even time zone. So natural disaster, hurricanes, drought, earthquake, pandemic. Technological explosion, factory fire that can destroy your facilities, your goods, and completely ruin your business. And failed deployments. I think it's a common one. Security, password leak, DDoS, fraud transactions, and human factor. That is the most important from my point of view. And management. Management is not a disaster. Management is the key to success. If you have great, professional, balanced, and motivated management team, you have a 15% of success. But if you have some problems with management, you can lose. For example, overpressure, wrong assumption, toxic team, and the most maybe harmless point is not defined responsibilities. So before I marked some statements with asterisks, and I want to talk about them in detail again in order to provide you a great background before we'll start talking about the plan. Pandemic, your employees are sick, market is down, closed borders, no shipping. So, for example, the borders closed and your ordinary shipment doesn't work, and you have to find in other ways how to deliver your stuff, products to clients. And believe me, it's a disaster to do it in a few days. And public restrictions, I'm talking about the public places. So if you are not able to work in a most comfortable way for you, it's also disaster and disasters for everyone all over the world. Failed deployment, self-explained, but the site is down, data missed. I'm talking about transaction, and this is a disaster because, for example, you have a huge number of transactions during an hour. We'll talk about it later, and if you lose them, you can lose your position in business. Damage issue and user experience, again because of failed deployment. Human factor, password leak, destroy infrastructure, and inject malware. Everything can be done by people. Unfortunately, it's true, and security begins not with, I would say, not from the of us practices and suggestions, but with the good relationship inside the company and team. And again, management, not defined responsibilities. This is the really tricky thing, because if solutions take too long in case of disaster, it means that you lose hours, days, and weeks. So this is a real disaster. And Alex, example, please, because just you are talking about disaster, but can we see the real like situation, maybe just close to the real one? Of course, happiness. Imagine that you have a 100 transaction per hour with $100 per each, and then soon it is 10,000. You invested tons of hours to be prepared for the high season, development, marketing, testing, again testing, and again regression testing. And Black Friday is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go. You start your high season and fail. Your payment provider is down. It is not working for 2 hours. Your sales managers are overloaded with calls from clients. The dev team is going to switch you to another provider soon, but they will need 1 hour plus because they didn't expect to be in such case. And payment provider keeps silence and you lose. This is not a real situation, but it's combination of situation. Let's call it like this. And you can be in this if you do not have a disaster recovery plan. How to deal with all of this? Create a disaster recovery plan, simple thing. But wait, before we'll proceed with the explanation of disaster recovery plan and suggestion how to make it, I want to tell you that this axioma. So before the e-commerce is mostly about processes and their automation through technologies. Business loves processes, documents, creativity, and patience. This is why we have so many best practices and other standards. So this is why we have and should have the disaster recovery plan. What benefits of having disaster recovery plan for business? Reduce the downtime of normal business operation. It means that how quickly you return to your normal processes and return to your growth. Reduce reputation risks. Believe me, if you lose during the Christmas sale and you sell, for example, toys, your reputation can be damaged a lot, and you will have to invest more resources in order to restore it. Minimize user retention, it's clear, and minimize data losses, it's also clear. Solution providers, it can be agencies, companies, easy to plan resources, sophisticated service, and as a result, competitive offer through guarantees. You know that if you can deliver not only code quality and quality in technology in general, but you can build a reliable relationship with your clients, you will reach a success. Because it's not possible, as I mentioned before, in e-commerce to build a great product with a perspective, with some perspective without processes. And this disaster recovery plan helps you with this, because you can react quickly to any kind of again, disaster, danger. And imagine situation when you wake up in the morning and you see that your project is down. And what do you need to do? You need to call to your development team, to your managers, to your DevOps engineers, to AWS if you host your project in it, and you will waste time. But if you have a disaster recovery plan, everyone knows what to do. And if this plan is automated with the help of monitoring tool, you even do not need to call your managers and your development team, because everything starts work with the first alert message. And yeah, so what do you need to do to create a disaster recovery plan? First of all, Define stakeholder that are responsible for business solution from the client and agency side. It can be CEO, CEO, CTO, and other persons from the C-level or different domain. It's really great option to set up a workshop where you, as a disaster plan maintainer, define the goals of this plan. It's you need to identify possible disasters in your physical area and area of interest, what you all want to achieve in case of the disaster recovery action, and then define the RTO and RPO. I will describe it later, and those two things are pillars of the success in creating disaster recovery plan. Define a communication plan in case of disaster. This is like you don't need to call in the morning to your development team if your project is down. Define sensitive data. Of course, it's very important because you need to understand what data you should save and restore first. Define accountable and responsible for disaster recovery procedure. This is also very important because when you know who is responsible for, you know how to reach it quickly and boost the process. So let's discuss two things, and I will show you suggestions and topic that should be included into disaster recovery plan and its preparation. So RTO is a recovery time objective. Let's just describe it in the next sentence. It is a period in which businesses should return to the ordinary operation process in case of disaster to prevent unacceptable losses. Pretty simple, I think. So as an example, if you have a failed deployment, return to normal state in 1 hour. Earthquake destroyed your servers, migrate your infrastructure to another instance in a day. This is an objective that you should match. Password leak, change passwords on all your services and make a security scan in 1 hour. So this is the RTO that should be defined with your business owners, with your managers, and with your teammates. Because, for example, architect or senior developer, or I don't know, like solution architect can say that, yeah, we can restore your project and migrate your infrastructure to another instance in a day or in a 2, and this is a cooperation with the business. And RPO, recovery point objective. It is the amount of data that the business identifies as applicable loss since the disaster happens. We need to understand that if disaster happens, you will lose something. It's just a miracle if you do not lose anything. So, but for example, the business decided that 4 hours of sales is the RPO. And in that case, backups of your business data, sales, orders, customers, their wish list should be, and backups should be done in each 4 hours in order to match this objective. Yeah, and my strong recommendation, store backups on a different infrastructure in order to be safe. And finally, let's just discuss and review some recommendations and topics that should be included in disaster recovery plan. I think that we will share those recommendations with all of you when this video will be published, just in order to help you to create your own with your own team. From the management side, just signing the SLA agreement, service license agreement, which will have next more points. When and how will the team recover the project? Who is responsible for what hosting provider can do, and what is the team's area of responsibility? For example, Cloudflare and DigitalOcean and other hosting providers, they have their own disaster recovery plans, and you can ask them to share it with you and then be prepared for it. Define the disaster recovery team. It's very important because it's really it's not professional when you work on, for example, on a task and someone just interrupt you and say, hey, we have a problem, please save us. But if this person is defined before this, this will not be over pressure, and this will save a lot of time. Every time if you define something with your team, do a workshop. it's a good practice. Do a workshop, explain the things, and just validate that everything is fine and every person understands what to do in case of emergency. For example, failed deployment, we restore it. You have an explosion in your hometown, you know what to do, just take your laptop and run to the shelter and something like that. Book a training hour for the DRP and maintenance. Yeah, it's like a common thing. For example, each 3 quarter book an hour for training. It's like create a database backup. It's like a review that every developer commits every day to the repository, and manager, for example, has all contacts of the AWS support or cloud, Magento cloud support. Find a reliable contact with the hosting provider, it's clear, and improve your communication skills. Yeah, managers should communicate very well in order to establish a good connection with stakeholder, business, and developers. And let's see what engineering part is in the disaster recovery plan. So first of all, in order to be prepared for disaster, follow best practices. It's like rule, a golden rule. You need to follow the code quality, security, for example, WASP you can use at the like a list of great advice. Profile your application. If project is down because of load in for each, it is a disaster, believe me. And you need to prevent such kind of things. Set up the project backup system. Code base, media, from my point of view, using, say, AWS S3 is a great option. And database, like, again, from my experience, should have a replication. Use monitoring tools such as New Relic and CloudWatch to be ready for disaster, to prevent them, to analyze them, and to identify what happens if you see that your project is down. Have an alternative energy supply and internet provider. It's a pain, it's true, and this reality, and you have to be prepared for the day when everything, for blackout, let's call it like this. And it doesn't matter hurricane or like a bombing. Keeps the work-life balance. This is what engineering should do. You should be able to write a great code, but you also should be able to manage your life, because engineering is about balance. So you try to write a balanced solution, then try to balance your life. And believe me, if you're burned out, this is a disaster, complete disaster, total disaster, and a disaster not only for you, but also for your team. Wow. And the next part of the engineering part, have a private packages in case of vendors issue. This is also one of the most tricky things, because sometimes when we have a deployment schema, and this schema, you clear the composer cache during the deployment, you can be a situation when, for example, one of the famous package in Magento is not accessible, and your deployment will fail. My suggestion for critical modules, and maybe in case of critical deployment, just have a private packages or backup, because you can simply change repository. You can change the repository line in your composer JSON, and then the project will be delivered. You build your team. Teamwork is a key to success in all cases. If you have a reliable team and you have a good relationship inside your group, you will reach the success, because everything is not about the technology. Everything is about the communication. And if you support each other and share your experience like we today, try to help with understanding new level of software architecture, like best practice of PHP and so on. Believe me, you reach success, and any disaster will be not a disaster, but just like a sad day. Commit every day. This rule can save your project and your client and your business, like in all situation. Because if, for example, hurricane
destroyed your town and on your laptop you have a epic issue with hundreds of hours development, and this issue was not delivered to the code base, you will fail. Try to upgrade the core when it's possible and no risk of backwards incompatible. It's just about Magento, Adobe Commons. You know that it's maybe not a good option to upgrade your project the day of release of a new version of Magento or Overpatch. It's okay, it's normal, just wait maybe for a month. But this should be included in your disaster recovery plan. So if you see that upgrade is going to be delivered and this upgrade released the day before, do not deliver this and unapprove the pull request. Have a backup plan for the payment and shipping providers. This point in a disaster recovery plan for Magento is crucial, because if during the sales period or high sales period or your promotion campaign, you face the situation that, for example, let's call it, okay, ID and Stripe, they are under the DOS and they do not work, but you have, again, 100 transactions per hour, you need to be able to switch to another payment provider quickly in order to not to make your customers unhappy and destroy your reputation. Yes, one more thing that I want to suggest you as a tech advisor and as a person that delivers a lot of project to the production and says in disaster, and use the check tool. You know, it's better to be prepared before disaster and see notifications that you have some errors with your project from the third-party services that notifies you automatically, then from 100 users with failed transaction and not delivered goods. Yeah, so there are a lot of health check tool and some, let's call it like ping tool in the world, and you can find the best solution for your client based on their budget. But from my point of view, it's the greatest thing, because it can notifies your team, and it starts the process of disaster recovery. And maybe the greatest part is just people management. Have a phone base of your employees. Have an emergency contact list of contacts for employees and empathy. If you know your team and feel it, you are ready for any tornado or hurricane. And yeah, in case of emergency, like pandemic, war, or any other kind of things that change your life completely, can change your life completely. Prepare an evacuation plan with a clear vision of what to do and how, directions, transports, and so on. Have a plan B for the office setup, for example, in another place, and have a plan for blocking, saving IT equipment. It's not a general description of really common and obvious things. It's like rules that help you to organize your process of work and process of delivery in the most efficient way with Magento. And maybe we are close to the end with my speech, and I want to say that business. For business, as a good project manager, product owner, senior developer, tech lead, and so on and so on and so on, you can suggest that if you have this plan and you set up it with us, you just trust your team, please. Have a plan B for shipping and payment providers. Control your team through the professional relationship and reporting. Yeah, trust your team and control your team. It sounds weird, but it's okay for business to have a control tool. It's a trustworthy plan, trust relationship and healthy relationship. When you see that, for example, with each deployment, with each disaster recovery, your project didn't get any performance degradation, it's a good thing, and this will increase the level of trust. Be ready for losses. Define the RPO and RTO. Help your team to reach their goal, as I explained here. So yeah, be ready that you can lose something during the disaster. And keep your eye on the Magento 2 open source and Adobe Commons strengths, because, you know, I'm really big fan of those platforms and the technology and the community. And I see that they are beneficial right now and in the future, but you need to keep an eye on them in order to be ready for the future upgrades. For example, that upgrade from the 2.3 to 2.4 for some can be like a disaster because a lot of work and backwards incompatible. But if you have a disaster recovery plan and follow the best practices, you will not be surprised with the amount of changes, and upgrade can be easily done for you. And Alex, but maybe there are already existed solutions. And I would say that, yes, good news for everyone. There are a list of recovery plans that I can suggest to you at the template for your future documents. This list of names easily can be Googled, and you will get a direct link to the document from 16, 17 pages to 56, and you will and you can understand the structure of things, and you can use it for your remote team and for your in-house team. So thank you so much for your attention. Be ready for disasters, and just have a good evening and good mood. And before I will pass my word to Sergey, I want to show you that, for example, this one thing, it's a Consular Foundation Disaster Preparedness and Recovery Plan. So this document is a public one. It has about 59 pages, and it can help you with creating your disaster recovery plan. Not maybe even for work, but even for your life. Yeah. So again, thank you, and being safe. Sergey.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Alex. Thank you for your presentations. Really impressive. By the way, if you have any, can you share your recovery plan for the case of blackouts? I see that we have a lot of guests from Ukraine, and this is a very actual problem. A lot of guys are affected by this.
Oh, it's again, maybe just we establish a new meetup and talk about this, because it's like my topic. But again, how to do and what disaster recovery plan we should have for maybe if you do not have electricity. First of all, work-life balance. Then commit every day, every hour, and every minute that you think that you are ready to commit. Then try to plan your work and your project delivery with your project manager in a way that will help you to work without internet. For example, you can create a new roadmap and define the backlog of tasks that doesn't require an internet connection. Then, for example, during the hours without electricity, you work, and when electricity is on, you have a short 15 minutes stand-up when you discuss quickly your problems, because, just we have Stack Overflow, Magento community, but sometimes it's better to ask your colleagues about something, and those daily stand-ups after the blackout can save time and just help you to go through this darkness without tears, let's call it like this. And of course, have a lot of power banks, and believe that after the storm, you will see the light.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Alex. By the way, one more question. Can you give us any suggestions, any recommendations about maybe you have any framework for reviewing the recovery plan? Because you have a recovery plan for rollback in case of deployment fail, but then you have deployed some features to the production, and you just didn't include some points to your recovery plan related to this feature, and then you just have some build failed. You go back to your recovery plan, you run rollback, and then, oh shit, we have forgot some feature, it is not configured, and so on and so on.
Yes, yes, but it's a great question, and you know that this document is not a dogma. You can change it even on the fly or in such situation. But if you face such thing, it means that you need to update your recovery plan, and in that situation, please follow the common sense, because the next stage is the answer maybe for all the questions related to such situation. First, common sense, then company standards, then technology standard. What I'm talking about, if you see that you forget a feature and the delivery of this feature will take, for example, 1 minute with a, let's call it dirty fix, do it. Do it, because just it's better to have a working project with ugly code than have a project down with a perfectly architect solution. So everything should be based on a common sense. Yeah, that's all.